What a rough night as a Seattle Mariners fan. Bryan goes 7 innings. He's going into the 8th. He's starting in the 8th inning, comes out. He has a no-hitter, and the Mariners are up 5-0. And of course, what do you think happens? The Mariners find a way to lose. And it sums up sometimes, a lot of the times, most of the time, what it's like to be a Seattle Mariners fan. It was a rough day, to say the least. Now, Bryan started the game walking 2 batters. I think the first 2 batters for the first time this year, or I don't know if it was in his career or this year. They said it on the broadcast. Walked the first 2 batters and then did not walk a player or allow a player on base until the beginning of the 8th inning. He had a no-hitter going with those 2 walks. He was nearly perfect. If it wasn't for bad first 2 batters and walking him, I mean, this guy was throwing stuff like a perfect game type of night. And he goes in, he gives up 2 base hits. He ends up giving up a sacrifice fly. But you have Bryan coming out, I think, giving up 2 hits. Maybe it was 3 max. He gave up 1 run coming out in the 8th inning. Had him no-hitter most of the game. And you'd think Matt Brash is coming in, and then you got Munoz. They'll probably close this out. Matt Brash gives up, I think it was a 2-run home run, made it 5-3. Munoz comes in, ends up giving up 2 runs himself, 5-5. You go to extras. The Mariners lose on a sacrifice fly by Aaron Judge. Now, I'll get to that one last because it was a perfect throw by Julio Rodriguez. I have other things to say about Julio right now, but that was a perfect throw. Cal probably lost positioning. He stretched out too far for that ball that was coming right at him, which in turn made him miss the tag. It was the second time that I remember him doing that this year, where probably should have got the guy out, but he misplaced the ball on a really good throw. But, I mean, he's the Platinum Glove winner, so he's the best catcher in baseball, so I'm not going to complain about it too much, but we'll get to it. That could have saved the game. Who knows what would have happened in the 11th? Probably would have lost the way this game was going. But this is a sum up of being a Mariners fan. You have a guy like Bryan coming into his first, it was a day after or 2 days after being announced to his first All-Star game, playing in Yankee Stadium in New York, in the Big Apple. Like, what a moment for him to come out of his first All-Star selection to go to New York and have a no-hitter going into the 8th inning against this Yankees team. I know they were struggling before playing the Mariners, but they are the Yankees, and they are going to be a dynamic offense. They are going to score a lot of runs. They will be a playoff team this year, per usual. He goes 8 innings, no hits, and you think, okay, he gave up 2 hits, he gave up 1 run. That's fine. We have Matt Brash coming in. We have Andres Munoz coming in after that. And it's just Seattle Mariners baseball finding a way to collapse. And they do. And they lose the game. And this was, through my group chats, through Twitter, Mariners on Tap on Twitter. You're probably watching this either on our, syndicated MSN feed or on Seattle on Tap YouTube. But if you want to find most of our Mariners stuff daily, it's on Mariners on Tap on Twitter. We have a Seattle on Tap, does mostly Seahawks on Twitter. This YouTube channel will do both, and wherever you're watching our videos, do both. Or podcast, we do both. But through Twitter on Mariners on Tap and through my group chats, everyone, the minute it was 5-3 even, everyone's like, here we go. Classic. I'm going to go walk myself on the freeway. You're getting all the memes of, somebody putting a fork in a plug and with a Mariners hat on. We all knew this was trending the wrong way and something disastrous could happen. And unfortunately, it did. And it just speaks volumes to what it is to be a Mariners fan. Especially, I think, the biggest reason this one's so frustrating, this isn't week 2 in the season. This isn't week, the end of the year, 10 games left. But, we're already in a playoff spot or already out of a playoff spot, whatever. This is an opportunity against the Yankees in a series that we got swept, where we were, I think, 1 game behind them going into the series for the top wild card spot. We're already like 8-9 games behind on the Astros. And the Mariners are in this weird limbo every year where Jerry DiPoto's trying to keep his job as the general manager. And they try their best to stay relevant with the money that they're given, which is not enough. I don't always put blame on Jerry because he doesn't get the best resources with this ownership group. But they always put out just a good enough quality out on the table to keep their jobs, and that's why we're always one game out of the playoffs, 2 games out of the playoffs, or the one time we did make the playoffs in these last 25 years, we barely made it. We made it out of that wild card round with some miracles happening against the Blue Jays, which was one of the best weeks of my life just watching that happen. But then, of course, we got swept by the Astros, and it was over. During this whole Dipoto era, we continually just try to find ways to stay relevant, and it always ends up being this, a team that's slightly above average, maybe a little more above average, but not good enough to be a team that wins a division or even goes deep in a playoff run or even make the playoffs every time. Maybe miss it by a game, maybe make it by a game. And this year felt already like one of those years where the Astros, we were ahead of the Astros for early stretch, even though the division itself was just not very good. But you felt okay. Then all of a sudden the Astros start getting hot. You're like 8-9 games behind them. And you go to New York for a series where, hey, we already lost the 2 games. Let's just not get swept. You get this performance from Bryan Wu, and a collapse happens. Now you're swept in New York. And we are 3 games away from the All-Star break. We're getting closer to a trade deadline here. And you start to see the discourse on Twitter, especially where I'm seeing it, which is it time to sell? But is this management group actually ever going to be willing to sell? Is the other question. And we start to get in this weird limbo of we can't sell for the future because Jerry Dipoto doesn't want to lose his job this summer. If we miss the playoffs, it's probably his last year. I mean, whether we buy at the deadline, sell at the deadline, or stay put, if we don't make the playoffs or if we miss it by a decent amount even I don't know, even if we miss it by a game or 2, he might be out of a job. We already fired our manager last year and brought in Dan Wilson. I think the next step is the management group. If we're on a 8, 9 year, 10-year run where we made 1 playoffs and we keep missing the playoffs by a game. And so you get in this weird spot where if you sell, you're selling because it's time to start focusing on the future. Well, we just wasted a generational rotation who's unfortunately underperforming this year with the exception of Bryan Wu. And we had all these young players. We had a magical season from Cal. We have young players like Julio Rodriguez, and now we have Ben Williamson and Cole Young, and J.P. Crawford's having a decent year, and we're trying to piece it together. You traded for Randy a year ago. But you might have to sell, and that would just be the end of an era and time for Jerry to go and kind of another rebuild. And then if you buy, we're going to be mortgaging our future to bring in some pieces, whether it's Josh Naylor, Eugenio Suarez. There's some other pieces out there that could be on the trade market. I just used Arizona guys because it's always Mariners and Arizona trading, and those are guys that could be on the market. And if it doesn't work out, you mortgage some of the future for some guys right now that probably aren't going to help you win enough to be a playoff team. So you just get stuck in this weird limbo of this team's just not good enough. And a game like today and a series like this series, unfortunately, shows that sometimes. And you know, you get bummed to see you're supposed to have generational talents like Julio Rodriguez and Cal Raleigh and like a few other guys. Cal's doing a great job doing that this year. Julio, who's an all-star this year, I'm going to say, like I mentioned, I'll get to it in a second, perfect throw to end this game. Cal probably went out of position, should have tagged the guy, should have been in a better spot to read that ball and get him out, and we'd go to extras. But we probably could have blown it again because I don't know who's coming out the next inning pitching. It's in New York. The momentum just shifted. The Mariners were done. They were looking like they were struggling to get runs moving forward after they got their first 5. But to the Julio stuff, despite a perfect throw, despite being an all-star and being elite defensively, I want to just mention, I mean, for a 24-year-old going on his 3rd All-Star game, we were expecting him to be the guy like Cal is now. Holy crap, I'm not saying he's going to be at 36 home runs at the All-Star break, but I wanted Julio to be the guy at 270 with 20 home runs, not at 244 with 11 home runs. And I'm not just going to go off batting averages, but I'm just going to do it for this quick segment on him. Last 7 games, he's batting 107. Last 15 games, he's batting 206. Last 30 games for Julio, 30 games, 225, 1 home run, a 318 slugging percentage, 261 on-base percentage. He's just not doing what we need him to do to be a team that has a chance to go to the next level and be a playoff team and be a team that's a serious contender. And so these type of games and series, you get swept by the Yankees and the sweep being in a crazy way, and a blowout game one. I think it was 10-3. We scored a couple of cheap runs at the end. Yesterday, 9-something. Cole Young got a home run late. There was a couple things that happened. But I think we ended up losing 9-6, but we were out of it pretty early, giving up 9 runs. And then today, a 5-0 lead going to the 8th with a no-hitter, and you blow it. And then it turns out to be not just a bad 2 games, a bad 3 games, with the third game being the sweep and being a historical collapse for this type of season. When we look back at this season, I'm not saying it's a historical collapse in MLB history, but in Mariners baseball, this one felt like, as the last time I felt a gut-wrenching, like, blown game, way less higher stakes, was probably in the playoffs, the Jordan home run. But I'm not saying they had the same stakes. I'm not saying they have the same value. That one obviously was a playoff-altering, series-altering situation. But that was the last time where I just watched a Mariners game and my jaw dropped, and I was just lost for words on how this collapse happened, why this happened, and how we're in this situation now. I think Julio plays a big part in that, and I want to say this one last thing about Julio, and to sum up, I think you know how I feel about today's game and what happened. But when it comes to Julio, I think there was a lot on Twitter this week of, I can't believe Mariners fans are unhappy to see him in the All-Star game. I'm not one of those. I think it's great he's in the All-Star game. I think it might help his confidence. I think it's great that he's a face of the league. I think it's great that he loves the Mariners. He wants to win with the Mariners. He wants to commit to the Mariners. He signed a contract early to stay with the Mariners. Obviously, the money was good too, but he did sign that contract because he wants to be a Seattle Mariner. He takes it with pride. He wears it on his sleeve and wants to be a winner in Seattle. But the problem is when you feel like your franchise guy isn't being a franchise guy, it does make you question why he's in the All-Star game. And I think he made it because he is a face of this league. He's a superstar talent, a superstar face. That doesn't mean I don't want him to be in the All-Star game, and I think that's a big thing that everyone got misconstrued on social media this week. Everyone's like, Mariners fans hate Julio. Why are they unhappy he's in the All-Star game? At least for me, not unhappy. I think it's cool. I want to see him represent the Mariners. I think all those guys deserve to represent the Mariners. Cal Raleigh, Bryan Wu, Andres Munoz, and Julio. That's great. I am surprised, though. There was other guys I thought that would have made it ahead of him. It's his defense that probably got him in first, plus the superstar figure he is. But if this Mariners team wants to be serious, we need guys like Julio Rodriguez to produce and to be the star that we think he is. It doesn't help that Kyle Lewis was our former guy that was going to be a star, Rookie of the Year. Injuries derailed his career. And then Jared Kelenic, it just didn't work out. It ended up getting traded. It's not working out with Atlanta anymore, but it was a flop. And now Julio is not a flop whatsoever. He's an above-average player right now. I know a lot of people want to make it sound like he's bad. He's above average. But he's not cutting the superstar role. Like I said, 225 in the last 30 games with 1 home run. No power, 36 strikeouts. Last 15 games batting 206, 18 strikeouts, no homers. Last 7 games, 107, no home runs, 2 walks and 10 strikeouts. That's not going to cut it. It's not going to be enough. And I'm concerned the Mariners are in the territory now of, is it time to rebuild? And I really hope it's not. That would be devastating. I feel like we've always dealt with rebuilds, but it might be the reality. This next series, we're playing the best team in baseball, the Detroit Tigers. If you do get swept, you lose 2 out of 3, and things start going really bad, do not be surprised if there's a potential sell on this roster. I don't think they'll do it because of Jerry wanting to keep his job and survive. But if this was a GM, a new one, and they're like, go do whatever you want, rebuild this team, this is your first season, I think they would sell. And that sucks to say because I thought there was something brewing here, but I don't know if there is. This is tough. We'll see you next time. I'm Sammy on Tap, and this is Seattle on Tap. I love you guys. We'll see you next time. Peace.